Dear colleagues, today I will draw your attention to a case of a cavum velum interpositum cyst in a fetus who came to our attention during the 19th week and 4 days of gestation. Before starting the study of the case in question, let us recall that the velum interpositum is a membrane resulting from the overlapping of the two layers of the choroid tela of the third ventricle, which defines a potential space located in the region between the internal cerebral veins and the posterior medial choroidal artery. This space, when dilated, appears as a cyst in the posterior cranial fossa. In the case under examination, which we will now analyze together, the fetal biometry was normal for the gestational age. At the cerebral level, the fetal anatomy was adequately developed. The cavity of the septum pellucidum was clearly visible, as was the lobe of the insula, an indirect sign of proper formation of the primary cerebral sulci. The amount of fluid contained within the ventricles was normal, with dimensions in fact less than 10 millimeters, which allowed us to rule out hydrocephalus. During the examination, a small anechoic cystic formation of the velum interpositum was observed, measuring approximately 5 by 6 millimeters, without any other associated cerebral anomalies, either major or minor, detectable by ultrasound. On the sagittal plane, the cyst was clearly visible beneath the brilliance of the corpus callosum. It should be noted that the velum interpositum cyst must, primarily be differentiated from an arachnoid cyst. The latter is generally larger, typically has a spherical shape and is located in the middle cranial fossa, only rarely in the posterior cranial fossa, and is often associated with other anomalies such as agenesis of the corpus callosum, which in this case was present, hydrocephalus, hemifacial atrophy, atrial, septal defect, and cleft lip and palate. An important distinguishing feature is represented by the internal cerebral veins. In fact, the velum interpositum cyst is located above the cerebral veins, whereas the arachnoid cyst is situated below them. Finally, the velum interpositum cyst must also be differentiated from the cavum vergae cyst. The latter is actually the posterior extension of the cavum septi pellucidi, which, when dilated, appears as a cystic formation. According to current literature, the presence of an isolated velum interpositum cyst of stable size, not associated with other anomalies, is consistent with a favorable postnatal outcome. In fact, before the advent of fetal DNA testing from maternal blood, it was believed that this type of cystic formation could be associated with aneuploidy, particularly trisomy 21. However, in data from recent years, it has been found that the test is negative in the majority of cases of velum interpositum cysts, especially when no other anomalies are present. This therefore makes us optimistic, just as in this case. Furthermore, during the examination, the rest of the fetal anatomy that could be explored by ultrasound at this stage appeared normal. The placenta was normally positioned and had a regular structure, as did the umbilical cord, which was correctly composed of 2 arteries and 1 vein. This allowed us to rule out a single umbilical artery, which is often found in such cases. The amniotic fluid was also normal, and both uterine and fetal Doppler flows, DAS, were within the normal range. What should be done? It is good practice to recommend genetic counseling to the patient, performing a fetal karyotype, as well as ultrasound follow-up.